Well, I'm delighted to be able to be with my nephew Bobby. And I will give you some feedback. I will give him some feedback about life that I had so far here, and I'm sure he'll be able to ask me some very interesting questions, which I will try to answer as far as possible.
Uncle Blaise, could you start by telling us where you were born and into what kind of family situation were you born?
No problem. I was born in April 34, in Istres, France, which is a place on an Air Force base, a French Air Force base, where my father was posted, and this took place in 1934. As I said, my father was a captain at the time. I was single in Wales that I didn't have a brother yet, anyway, to speak of, and so we were in Istres for a very short while before he was posted somewhere else.
Okay, and what kind of position did he have with? I know you said he was a captain. Was he?
He was responsible for military doctors unit, a medical unit.
Okay.
Over there before he was posted eventually to Cazaux, another place not too far away from Istres, and this happened just before the war.
Right. So he was a physician also.
That's correct.
Okay. And your mother?
English.
Yeah. How did they meet?
She was on holidays in France with her sister, and they met at when there was a party at the medical school in Bordeaux, where my father did his training.
Oh, okay. All right. So they married. He joined the Air Force. It was the
Army.
The Army.
It was the Army, yes.
Okay. And so he was a military man just because he wanted to be.
Can we stop here just to see how it?
Sure.
In 1936, my father was posted in one of the French colonies called Madagascar in Indian Ocean, and we remained over there in a couple of places until 1939. I was still on my own. My brother wasn't born yet, so I spent part of my life, which I remember quite well, in Madagascar before he was posted back to France in 1939. In 1939, as you naturally know, the war started against the German, and he was posted where? But to Indochina. Indochina, which was another colony, where we went in 1940. But just before 40, my brother Jacques was born. So the four of us went to Indochina, initially to Saigon, where he held a post over there. Then he moved a bit, went to Cambodia. We went to other places on the East Coast as well, until the Japanese, that's a little complicated to understand in this interview, but it happened. The Japanese took over the complete country because there was a sort of status quo between the Japanese and French. They shared the country, if you will, and part of the place was French, part of the place was Japanese, and this lasted until 45. In 45, the Japanese were on the verge of losing the war, as you know, and they decided to take over the complete country. And this was not very difficult because the French were virtually totally disarmed at that time, and they decided to lock everybody up. All the military people were sent to concentration camp. The civilian and family were sent to a different place, and that's how we ended in a place called Niatran on the East Coast. And Niatran is a very well-known outpost because the during the American war had a very, very, very big base in Niatran.
Okay. And so in 1945, so how did the war end in Indochina, was it American forces that came in, or French forces that came in, or?
No, it was an Allied effort. Eventually, the Japanese capitulated, and the war was ended. So, as a result, we were sent back, like all the personnel were sent back to Europe. We went back to France, initially to England, to be correct, because there was an effort between the Ally and the rest of the Ally, whereby some French people were sent back to France, some Dutch were sent back to their own country, and some Brits were sent back to England. So it was a concerted effort, and this happened in 1945.
Mm-hmm. And your mother was still technically a British citizen, and so
she still was.
They sent her to Britain.
That's correct.
And that must have been quite a shock for you, going from the tropics then to a post-war England.
Well, it was, because I didn't know England at all. This was totally new to me. I was not familiar at all with the language at the time, because most of the time we spoke French at home, although I was not totally ignorant of English, but nevertheless it needed all the same some getting used to it.
That makes me wonder, had you learned some Cambodian or Vietnamese while you were there?
Oh yes, absolutely. Okay. Not Cambodian, but Vietnamese, yes.
Okay.
And I was quite fluent, in fact, because when you're a kid, of course, you learn very fast, and then you forget as fast as you learn, initially, unfortunately. Okay. And by the way, the same phenomenon happened when we were in how do you call it?
Madagascar.
In Madagascar.
Oh.